Does any other member wish to speak? No? Deputy Trevor Pitman.
Yeah, isn't it ironic after allowing a lot of people to be betrayed yet again, as we did earlier? Here we're talking about justice, and yet it's all going to be done and dusted in about 10 minutes. And the fact is, I have to say, in my opinion, a growing number of the victims of the Jersey justice system. There's zero accountability to those at the top of the justice system in Jersey. It's a fact. It's a very scary, frightening fact. And I don't know if the Chief Minister kids himself, but he's not in control here. The political power in this island lies with the law office. It's an absolute fact. Certainly as far as enforcement of its will. I mean, it really is, as has been said, and I never used to believe this, but it is all too often a tool of oppression. It's a great example here today how we could be saving money and how we don't need the bailiff. The greffier and his assistant are proving that admirably. We don't need any individual in a red cloak. It's quite offensive, actually, to see, and I'll be quite honest, it's the reason I didn't come to the special sitting last week. I find it highly offensive to see a judge, any judge, and this isn't a personal thing, any judge is our first citizen in the 21st century. It's absolutely ludicrous. I actually supported Senator Farnham's idea for a Justice Minister, but I mean, this is one of those watered-down fudges, and I think he's putting a brave face trying to be nice about perhaps convincing himself, wishing to convince himself that this is all going to move in a positive direction. And I think he's mistaken in that. Senator Gorst, well, I told him yesterday I wasn't going to support this because I voted for him, as he knows, and I've been appalled that I did vote for him. He is, in my view, I have to say that, I'll get into trouble, utterly too weak to ensure justice in this island. Members ask themselves, when do you hear the Chief Minister talk about justice, speak out about it and upholding it? Practically never. Practically never. He can't go against the word of the bailiff. And it's one of the most striking things when you come into this assembly. The ridiculous and actually quite offensive deference that's given to someone just because he's a judge. Let's put it quite clearly. The bailiff deserves no such deference, any bailiff. He's just the judge. And yet he can interfere, he can block what elected representatives to this assembly say, can ask. And as we saw yesterday in a quite embarrassing display, in this island, the justice system is so appalling that when the bailiff fails appallingly, you can actually only go and take those failings to the bailiff. Now, it's a bit like deja vu when I remember back years ago when Senator Sivray forced out of the States for 6 months. I think 96, I think it was. Who could he ultimately appeal to about that? Probably the same man who many would say were instrumental in him being removed from that assembly. This cannot be trusted to the Chief Minister's department. I say because the Chief Minister just does not appear to have the will, the determination and the courage to do the job. He's too weak. Now that might upset some people, but I have to speak the truth. That's what we're meant to do here. Where's the judicial accountability now? There is none. None whatsoever. We have a UK Justice Minister who's meant to intervene when he should, but he does nothing. He can't go through an appeal system. And we heard a really brilliant example of how the Jersey justice system is dysfunctional when we had to hear the desperation. Well, if you don't get what you think you should have, well, you can go to the Privy Council or then to Strasbourg. Well, like those poor victims up there today. It's a bit late by then because you can't challenge failings properly. People had their lives ruined by then. Is the Chief Minister going to put that right? No, because he's one of those who I believe strongly is absolutely frightened to death of the aura of the bailiff and all that it suggests. And the bailiff has only got that deference from people because of the dual role. We talk about, in this report from the Chief Minister, that you've got to have that independence between judiciary and politics. Well, does he not ever look at the individual and what that represents sitting in that chair every session? The hypocrisy, an absolute comical farce of what he's saying. I can't remember who said it. It might have been Deputy Chaddy, it might have been Deputy S. Pitman. But you'd have a minister still being controlled on issues of justice by an unelected judge. There's no place for this in the 21st century. I'm sorry that Deputy Greville can't see the problem with it. Just about any other right-thinking person can see the problem with it. It's a person wearing two hats at one time. It's an unelected judge being involved where he has absolutely no right. It might have been okay in the 17th century when we all meant to tug our fall up to our betters, but it's not okay now. I couldn't tug my fall up, but there we go. I may doff my cap. Can't afford a cap actually, but there we go. It makes me so frustrated because I say we'll happily sit here and discuss ourselves for like weeks on end. We'll discuss dog mess for hours or days, and justice, hardly anyone speaks. And let's spell out the facts again. There's only about 5 of us here who ever stand up for justice, and we're actually made out to be some kind of radicals. We're out to destroy the known civilization. No. Those of us who talk about justice, it's because we care about our island. The rest, and I'm sorry, but 95% of the State's Assembly fall into 2 categories. People who just keep their head down, they're too scared, they protect the status quo, they'll say nothing. Or it has to be said, people who perhaps don't care about justice at all, which is even worse. Some of those people who we were debating earlier said to me yesterday, for too many people, it's only when an injustice happens to them that they realise what's going on this island. Well, that's because of the mainstream media. They don't report on the true facts. They've got a huge responsibility, as much power, more power than we have, but they don't talk about the real issues. Let's just keep attacking the 4 or 5 loony lefties who keep going on about child abuse and the dual role. If I'm to support this, well, Chief Minister, what are you going to do about all that? What are you going to do about all these issues? As we heard, the Chief Minister can't go against the word of the bailiff. So how is this being under his sway, his control, going to differ? I was at that meeting that the Deputy referred to, and he actually acknowledged there were huge areas that needed to be changed. But will he do them? We have jurats elected by lawyers. That's crazy. It doesn't even happen in Guernsey. And some people are always mocking Guernsey for what they do. How can you have lawyers choosing people then they're going to be pitching to win their case to later? It's absolutely bonkers. The jurat law, 1940. What stops you being a jurat? If you've received assistance from the 1948 Poor Law, doesn't matter if you're Jimmy Savile, you're in. You're a pillar of society. That's what it comes down to in essence. No convictions against Mr. Savile, so he probably would have been welcomed as a pillar of the community. Sorry if some of this is uncomfortable, but it's true. I've got so many cases now on justice. I admit, and I'll use this actually to apologise to some people I haven't even been able to get back to. Because I'm being overwhelmed, and I know Deputy Higgins has got a huge number. They're diverse and they're shocking. What's been done about it? What have successive Chief Ministers done about the injustice in this island? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Justice in Jersey is made up as we go. A phenomenon which some people may not be aware of. Judge-made law. had judges, and it's a great example of what happens in Jersey, rulings, decisions are given by judges that have absolutely no visible link to the laws that were passed by assemblies such as ours. Who challenges it? Is the Chief Minister going to challenge it? No, because he's not strong enough. And I put my trust in him. And this isn't a personal thing either. I put my trust when he was making his pitch to be Chief Minister. And on the key issues, justice, like for the abuse victims, he has really done nothing. He expressed his satisfaction, his contentment with the case against former Senator Sivray. Well, I don't agree with a lot of what Mr. Sivray's done, but I'll stand with him on justice issues. Regularly, there's a gentleman who sits up there who can actually show you his statement, his many consistent statements made to the police about as a child being pinned down and having blood trickling down his legs after he'd been abused. One of those, the person who he alleges, and more than a dozen others allege, is an abuser, is still employed by the states, has still got access to children. How is the Chief Minister and his legal team, who's meant to be doing redress, treating that man? Well, he's actually accused of never being at Haute Le Gren. It's only other people who were at Haute Le Gren could remember him there. Has he had sympathy? Has he had compassion? No. I'll tell you what's happened to him. He's actually been threatened by the legal team that if he didn't drop his allegations, he'd be prosecuted and could end up in prison. Justice in Jersey? Utter farce. Yet we're satisfied with the secret court case against Mr. Sivray. Of course, one of those people given such huge financial assistance, the very man that so many people have accused. That same case, if we're talking justice, Chief Minister, why is it that there's a letter in existence pitching for individuals to come in and put the case together and decide how they would get Mr. Sivray? 5 people invited. One of them refused. Proxies, that is what they were. And I happen to believe that some of them have got, certainly a couple, have got cases for what's been done to them. They may have cases to answer on the accusations against them. The best way to have done that would be before a court. And as I've said before, then Mr. Sivray could have been taken into account if what he said was completely wrong, and those people could have earned justice. But no, what do we do with justice in Jersey, Chief Minister? We have secret court cases. And I do hope he's going to do the decent thing and resign when we get the true figures about how much this has all cost, because the question's already in for next session. He wants to control justice. Well, why is it that data protection and this access, and it's all right for him to chuckle over there, perhaps it says how seriously he takes justice. Why is it that data protection, this assistance, isn't available to all? One of the individuals given money, members might not know, is actually the scourge of innocent people in this island. He's been intercepted by the police threatening ex-partners. Doesn't get charged. He sends out posters saying that decent, ordinary people have threats to women. Doesn't get charged. He puts hate sites up on the internet. Hate sites which emails stolen from one of our own members end up on. Doesn't get charged. When I went and made a complaint about him, the senior police officer went and looked, and he was shocked at the amount of complaints against this individual. So you can see it just wasn't me. Puts a case to the Attorney General's office. No case to answer. Perhaps that explains for all his faults why Mr. Sivray went down the route he did. Because it all comes back down to this image. Hardly anyone wants to risk challenging Jersey's fluffy image as a shining beacon of democracy, as I think former Senator Burchard said. The way you improve your image is by you confront the things that are wrong. And that's what me and those few other members who actually stand up and talk about justice do. And of course we get pilloried by the Jersey Evening Post, pilloried by other members, former judges. It's a wonderful little clip if members are getting bored, go and look at YouTube and I'll see a wonderful little clip of a former chief judge in Jersey. And he's giving a talk to, I assume, Law Society or a collection of lawyers. And he actually says, and he laughs, and he gets a huge, great ripple of applause. When I was a judge, and the law was silent, I did what everyone else did. I made it up. I made it up because that's what everyone else did. Is that justice? And people laugh. A chief judge, a former chief judge, I mustn't get into trouble, mustn't go down the magistrate route of today, confusing individuals. It's funny, just on the news today, can't say Mr. Christmas, can I? Former, whatever he was, assistant magistrate, he's out of prison already. Laughing all the way to the bank why those people we've sent away with their tails between their legs are going home. One of them actually onto income support as a result, she was telling me. God, this makes me furious. These tick box propositions that come back, pretending to do something, when the proof of the pudding is that this chief minister never stands up for justice, ever, even when it's wrong. He's controlled by the law office, in my view. He does not have the courage to challenge things that are wrong. Why am I not going to support this? It's not because I don't support Senator Farnham's original idea. I do, though I ask the question, how many in this assembly could actually do that job? 4 or 5, because most, and I mean there's no offence to any particular member, most have not got the courage and the conviction to stand up as I do so often. But this is just a fob, it's a fudge, it's another one of the chief minister's cop-outs. Why did we have an external relations minister when we haven't even got a children's minister? Far more important. Why haven't we got a justice minister? Far more important than giving someone a title to do a job that, let's be honest, Senator Oza's been doing a pretty good job of, really, before we even had this assistant external affairs minister. I said to members, don't support this. Force the chief minister to come back with something that is actually fit for the 21st century. Make him come back with something which will actually provide justice for all. I think it was Deputy Lefondre today said, when would justice purely relate to how much money people have got? Well, it happens all the time in Jersey. Many of us in St Heliers see constituents, if they can't afford to pay for lawyers and they get legal aid, they really may as well give up, because you'll get a lawyer who's generally completely not interested, or they're so young and inexperienced, they'll probably do more harm to your case. And if you're in the middle, you're even worse. The Jersey system, some people would say it's bent. I don't say it's bent, because if you imply that, then you think it could be put back into shape. The Jersey justice system needs a full Turks and Caicos style intervention by the UK. We need the UK Justice Minister actually to fulfil his mandate. We need the Lieutenant Governor to actually fulfil the powers that he's got. And I actually like this Lieutenant Governor. Had some lengthy conversations with him. But if he doesn't actually step in when he should, then what are we paying a great deal of money for? We do need a Justice Minister, but I actually think it should be appointed from the UK, because it's so entrenched here. It's so entwined, political power with judicial power, that it cannot be done safely otherwise. And now I think I'll sit down and let our former Chief Judge attack me, as he does so often. Thank you very much, sir.